guards told Black Marine to leave graduation, 6 SEALs made them regret it instantly. The graduation hall was packed, every seat filled with proud families, polished shoes tapping against the floor, quiet excitement buzzing in the air. Rows of freshly commissioned officers sat straight-backed in their dress uniforms, medals catching the light, faces tight with discipline, but eyes full of something deeper, relief, pride, and disbelief that they had finally made it. Near the back of the hall stood a Black Marine in dress blues. His uniform was older, worn just enough to tell a story. The creases were sharp, the ribbons perfectly aligned, his posture calm but alert. He wasn't loud, he wasn't drawing attention, he was just there to watch. 2 security guards approached him. One glanced at the badge clipped to his belt, then at the Marine's uniform, his expression tightening. "You can't stand here," the guard said quietly but firmly. The Marine turned slowly. "I'm attending the ceremony." The other guard shook his head. "This area's for families and invited guests only. You'll need to step outside." The Marine didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply replied, "My invitation's already been cleared." The first guard crossed his arms. "Look, we don't want trouble, but this isn't a place to hang around in uniform unless you're graduating or officially seated." A few nearby parents glanced over. Some looked uncomfortable, others pretended not to notice. The Marine exhaled slowly. "I'm here for one of them." "That's so," the guard said skeptically. "Then take a seat or leave. Standing like that makes people nervous." The Marine's jaw tightened just slightly, still calm, still controlled. He reached into his pocket, then stopped. He'd learned long ago when silence spoke louder than proof. "I'll wait," he said. "No," the guard replied, stepping closer. "You'll leave." The Marine looked past them, toward the stage, toward the young officer seated in the second row, eyes fixed straight ahead. Before the situation could escalate, a quiet voice came from behind. "Is there a problem?" 6 men stood at the entrance. They moved with unmistakable purpose, not rushed, not aggressive, calm, precise. Their civilian clothes couldn't hide it, the posture, the awareness, the way their eyes scanned everything at once. One of them stepped forward. "Why are you stopping him?" "He doesn't belong here," the guard said quickly. "Protocol." The man smiled faintly. "Protocol?" Another from the group spoke, voice flat and controlled. "That Marine belongs wherever he decides to stand." The guards glanced between the 6 men, suddenly uncertain. "And who are you?" The first man reached into his jacket and flashed an ID so fast it barely registered, but it didn't need. The ceremony ended, but the moment didn't. It followed everyone out of the hall like a weight they couldn't shake. Conversations stayed low, eyes kept drifting back to the Marine, to the 6 men who had stepped in without raising their voices, without flexing rank, yet somehow shifted the entire room. Outside, the guards stood near the entrance, no longer speaking to each other. One of them kept replaying the exchange in his head, realizing how close he'd come to humiliating someone whose service outweighed his assumptions by decades. The senior officer approached them quietly. His voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. "You're being reassigned, effective immediately. We'll discuss why later." Neither guard argued. They nodded, understanding the lesson had already been delivered. Across the courtyard, the Marine stood with the newly commissioned officer. The younger man's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his cap. "They almost didn't let you in," he said, anger slipping through his discipline. The Marine shook his head. "Doesn't matter. I got to see you stand where you earned it." One of the SEALs stepped closer. "You trained him well." The Marine allowed himself a small smile. He trained himself. I just made sure he didn't quit." The officer looked between them, realizing for the first time who had intervened on his mentor's behalf. "Sir, I didn't know you ran with SEALs." The lead SEAL shrugged. "We don't run. We watch each other's backs. Always have." Families passed by, some stopping to glance, others whispering as recognition spread. Not gossip, respect, the kind that settles in once the truth is known. A woman approached hesitantly. "Excuse me," she said to the Marine. "I saw what happened earlier. I just wanted to say thank you. My son is graduating next year. I hope he has someone like you watching." The Marine nodded. "He'll be fine. Just remind him who he serves." As the crowd thinned, the SEALs prepared to leave. No speeches, no victory laps. One of them paused and turned back to the guard's empty post. A funny thing about respect, it's never about the uniform. It's about what you did while wearing it. The Marine watched them walk away, then turned to the young officer one last time. "This moment, remember it, not for the disrespect, but for how fast it vanished when the truth stood up." The officer nodded. "I will." As they parted ways, one thing lingered in the air, an understanding that real authority doesn't demand space, it creates it. And those who underestimate it usually learn the lesson when it's already too late.